So we are focused on incentives for home upgrade projects. We're focused right now on the residential space. And, if anyone, who's listening, or if you might have, applied for a rebate program in the past, like an appliance rebate program through a government agency or utility, oftentimes it can be quite challenging. And so we provide an end-to-end solution to make it very easy for folks to pre-qualify projects for all available incentives, as well as then to claim the funds. And you could think of us as kind of a TurboTax for electrification rebates.
Hi, this is Izumi Tanaka with Home Green Homes Podcast. I took a little break this summer to recharge and regenerate, and I am back feeling refreshed and motivated. My first guest after my break is Aimee Bailey, a founder and CEO of Rockrabbit, which is a tech company dedicated to help residential built space to decarbonize by utilizing the numerous incentives that are available. As myself have experienced when replacing a water heater for my home, learning about the incentive programs, let alone navigating the process, can be very complicated and sometimes frustrating. Rockrabbit will help you in the process so the electrifying process is simplified and made more accessible. Enjoy my conversation with Aimee. So Aimee, thank you so much for being with me today. I really appreciate your time. And we're going to go right into this conversation. I learned about Rockrabbit through USGBC California. I understand that Rockrabbit was one of the Net Zero Accelerator program. So first of all, I would love to know who you are and how you ended up being in this space. I always like to hear the background story. What brings people to this space?
Yeah, thanks so much for having me on the podcast. Really excited to be here. And, absolutely happy to give you a little bit of an intro to myself before diving in. My own background, I started out doing engineering and physics, actually. So I have a PhD in physics and was kind of heading down a research path and just grew increasingly interested in climate change and increasingly motivated to do my part to address the climate crisis, and ultimately ended up pivoting into the energy sector. This was a while ago. This was back in 2010. And I started out in energy at the Department of Energy in the Sunshot Initiative. So that term is now no longer used. They've rebranded the office, the solar office, a few times since then. So the term dates me a bit, but it was a really fantastic time, certainly to be working in clean energy and in the energy transition space. It was when Steve Chu was the Secretary of Energy, and this was within the Obama administration. So that was my first kind of role in energy. And I've been mainly working in various positions at utility companies and government agencies for the last 13 or 14 years. And I've had a variety of different types of positions and at a variety of different types of orgs, but a major theme has been designing and deploying incentive programs to help accelerate the energy transition. And so that's largely how I came to form Rockrabbit. We're building out a product suite that I saw the need for when I'd been in these prior roles that I wish that I had existed when I was a programs director in the past.
So came the Rockrabbit, and it was part of the Net Zero Accelerator programs, which USGBC is sponsors every year. And what did it come? Did you already have Rockrabbit when you started the NZA program, or did you go through that program and came out with Rockrabbit?
Yeah, and so, excuse me, my co-founder and I, we founded Rock Rabbit last year.
Mm,
And but it's built on, many years of experience in the
right.
space. And I had been kind of incubating concepts related to Rock Rabbit for many years, just as
Hmm.
I've been in these program director positions
Hmm.
and kind of struggling, honestly, with administering these programs as well as specifically getting the type of participation,
Hmm.
equitable participation that we were kind of wanting to achieve. And so it was built on many years of experience, but founded last year. And we applied to the Net Zero Accelerator, I believe it was earlier this year. So Rock Rabbit already existed when we applied. It's been a really fantastic program, and it's enabled us to get a bit more embedded in especially the Southern California
Hmm.
ecosystem. And yeah, it's been really tremendous being a part of that program. So we're excited to be a cohort company.
Mm, yes, they churn out a lot of great businesses. I'm really excited to see that you came out of that. So tell us about what Rock Rabbit does. And first of all, I'm curious. This I think I heard somewhere what that Rock Rabbit means. So tell me. Let's start from there.
Sure, sure.
Yeah.
And we do get this question a lot.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah. Rock rabbit, it's another name for an American pika, which
Mm,
is a small mountain-dwelling mammal that's a climate change indicator species. And so you'll see these pikas, these rock rabbits, in parts of the West. They also exist on various continents, and they go by
mm,
different names. But they are a climate change indicator species, and they're absolutely adorable. If you do Google image search, rock rabbits and American pikas, they're very cute animals. But it's definitely the climate change tie. We wanted
mm,
something that was also kind of easy to pronounce and had
right.
some good connotations, but that we're a
Mhm,
mission-driven company. I mean, we
right.
founded Rock Rabbit to accelerate the energy transition,
Mm,
and the Rock Rabbit is a nice kind of representation of that.
mhm, mhm. And so let's hear what Rock Rabbit actually does. Like as a business, you've started
Mhm.
this business. So um, yes, tell me about Rock Rabbit.
Yeah, absolutely. And so we are focused on incentives
Mhm,
for home upgrade projects. We're focused right now on the residential space. And,
mhm,
if anyone, who's listening, or if you might have, applied for a rebate program in the past, like an appliance rebate program
mhm,
through a government agency or utility, oftentimes it can be quite challenging, especially for folks like who aren't kind of energy wonks like
mhm,
us or
mhm.
building sector wonks
Yes.
like us. It can be really hard to, well, first of all, find out what programs are available
Right.
since these programs change all the time, and we kind of have a nice problem in that there's more and more money out there. There are literally billions of dollars each year available for these upgrade projects, but finding them and kind of keeping track of things can be challenging. Then navigating the eligibility requirements can
Mhm,
also be quite challenging.
mhm,
Each of these programs have their own sets of program rules, and there is a lot of fine print, and the equipment requirements or customer requirements, they don't always align between programs, and so you do have to really read the program rules, read the terms and conditions, or have work with software platform like Rockrabbit to help navigate that. And so the eligibility requirements as well as the paperwork can be time consuming,
mhm,
especially if you're like a contractor, if you're an HVAC tech or plumber, like looking to support your customers on these programs. Oftentimes they hire dedicated staff
mhm,
to basically do rebate support. And so those are kind of three pain points or buckets of pain points: the incentive discovery, navigating the eligibility requirements,
mhm,
and then the incentive paperwork that we help
mhm,
address. And so
mhm,
we provide an end-to-end solution to make it very easy for folks to pre-qualify projects for all available incentives, as well as then to claim the funds. And you could think of us as kind of a TurboTax for
mhm,
electrification rebates.
mhm. That's that is so amazing. And I must share with you, I think I may have already shared with you that I had to go through replacing a water heater recently. And number one, it was hard to find a unit. Number two, obviously, I think this is the pain point that I'm experiencing the most, is the finding the right contractor. And then it turns out that the unit I found, I ended up getting a Rheem Proterra heat pump water heater, but it turns out after the fact that it wasn't eligible for rebate because of the size of the tank. So I get it that, I think it's wonderful that this Rock Rabbit is now providing a bridge for somebody like me. And I am somebody who's been following this topic for a few years, as long as this whole rebate conversation has been around and incentives. And I still find it difficult to keep up. And I'm also, through my podcast, I try to disseminate this information to people around me and, near and far. But even then, it's like there are certain platforms like Rewiring America, Switches On. It's still not easy to navigate. So I very much appreciate what you are offering. So my curiosity is, does Rock Rabbit directly work with homeowners? So is that your customer base, or how do you work with contractors, and how do you really connect those dots?
Yeah, and so we work mainly, the contractors are the main users of
I
rockrabbit,
see.
and some of that relates to the policy.
Mm,
As you probably know very well, there are some programs that are so-called midstream programs
mm-hmm,
where it has to be the contractor that, first of all, becomes a participating contractor. So they
mm-hmm,
have to meet certain requirements and go through
mm-hmm,
different training.
mm-hmm,
And then they need to be the ones actually applying for the funds. And there are often also rules related to whether and how they pass on those funds to
mm-hmm,
the homeowner. But a lot of the program funding out there is so-called midstream, so it ends up being the contractor that kind of has to
right.
be the ones to do that, and that's the case in California with a major statewide program.
Mm-hmm,
Here, the tech program, in that it is a participating contractor midstream program.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
So we focused first on contractors, but we've built out a lot of capabilities in the platform to enable a contractor and a homeowner to collaborate.
right.
Because we have, for instance, a lot of contractors that might be smaller contractors,
Mm-hmm,
and they may not be able to provide like the level of white glove sort of service that some of the
mm-hmm,
medium or larger folks
right.
provide, but they still want to participate in rebates, want to offer that to their customers,
Mm-hmm,
and participate in the energy transition. But what they end up needing to do is kind of like having the homeowner do some of the documentation collection and
right.
upload. And so our
Mm-hmm,
platform kind of enables that. And we can work as well with incentive providers directly. And so if we're working with a utility or a government agency
mm-hmm,
or like a CCA, for instance,
mm-hmm,
then it is more of the homeowner that engages with us. So the contractors are still using the kind of Rockrabbit branded web and mobile app, but the homeowner would be using a white labeled app. And so it's with the branding, of the
right.
utility or the government agency, but then
Mm-hmm,
they can effectively self-serve apply for rebates in that case. It is often the
right.
case for utilities. We find that it is
Mm-hmm,
more so-called downstream programs where
right.
it is the end customer, the utility customer, that is the one that's applying for it. But ultimately, everything that we're doing, it's intended to benefit the end homeowner, because
Mm-hmm, I
they need to
see.
have the information about the
Mm-hmm,
incentives to make an informed decision.
right.
And, the biggest reason for not moving forward with electrification projects is cost.
Right. Yes.
And so we're trying to really tackle
Mm-hmm.
that big component.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I definitely do feel that pain of the cost of how much more it costs to say replace a water heater, from a ordinary tank water heater to heat pump. So What I'm hearing is that you work with the contractors so that they can disseminate and they can provide the informed information, basically to the homeowners so they can make the right choice. And you are based in Bay Area, correct?
That's right.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So you work with homeowners, contractors, utilities throughout California, and I think I heard you say that you are already going outside of California as well, correct?
That's right. That's right. We started here in California,
Mm-hmm.
and it's a big market here. I mean, the state's obviously a leader in so many
Yeah.
respects,
Mm-hmm.
and so we support the entire state. We cover
Mm-hmm.
the vast majority of
Mm-hmm.
heat pump water heating and heat pump HVAC programs
Mm-hmm.
across the state, and
Mm-hmm.
then we're also expanding to additional technologies, additional end uses. But we also work outside of the state as well. We have
Mm-hmm.
several deployments in other states.
I see. And I would imagine that getting the contractors on board is the hardest thing. I've been having a lot of conversations around that because I live outside of Los Angeles, so there's limited resources. And this is actually a really good experiment for me. You know, if I'm living in the LA urban area, there are more contractors and bigger and small, medium-sized contractors. But in the, not so urban, this is actually considered remote in some cases. There's not a lot of contractors that are keen to new information. And I find that to be the most difficult. And because these are the areas that are probably in more need of decarbonizing. You know, there's a lot of low income families in the surrounding neighborhood that have older homes, that have older systems or broken systems, and they can't afford to fix or replace. And those are the most needed area. And I'm having a hard time finding anybody who will even talk about heat pump, who even talk about electrification, because they just want to do whatever they have been doing, installing the gas HVAC, furnace or a water heater. So how are you overcoming that challenge of enrolling the contractors?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I think this is a very big challenge for
Mm-hmm.
us as a nation,
Yeah,
just in terms of the labor shortage.
yeah.
There have been some industry reports out there that have, noted that the gap of kind of number of electricians, a number of
Mm-hmm.
HVAC technicians needed to achieve
Mm-hmm.
climate targets, and how many there actually kind of are.
Mm-hmm.
The gap is
Mm-hmm.
hundreds of thousands. Some of the
Mm-hmm.
estimates that we've seen. I think we're trying to play a part in kind of helping alleviate the situation, but of
Yeah.
course we're definitely not the full solution to that issue. But one way in which we help is just to make sure that time that the skilled trades are have is well
Mm-hmm.
spent, and that
Mm-hmm.
means it's not being spent doing paperwork.
Mm-hmm.
And so we enable them to kind of participate in these rebate
Mm-hmm.
programs and drive customer adoption
Right.
of heat pumps while minimizing the time that they're spending and the headache that they're spending,
Mm-hmm.
on that paperwork element. So it's more time for them to install projects.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's one way in which we're trying to help. But this is a broader, certainly a broader challenge, the workforce development challenge
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
Mm-hmm. Right. I would imagine. Oh, wow. It's like, just to imagine, reaching all the contractors out there is that alone is such a huge task. And I commend you for taking this challenge on. And so do you consider Rock Rabbit to be a tech company? I mean, you must be churning so much data, to be able to help the contractors and homeowners and the utilities to aggregate all the information that's out there. Because I understand that in California alone, there are more than 300 rebate programs, depending on the area, that's just the regional ones or utilities offering or government offering, right?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Just for heat pumps, I think it's over 170. And so when you add in, induction stove,
Mm-hmm.
storage, there's still some solar incentives out there, et cetera. There are a lot of programs out there for sure. A lot of money to support these upgrades.
Yeah.
Um, Regarding your question, like we definitely consider ourselves a tech company, and that's really thanks to my co-founder and
Mm-hmm.
his experience and expertise and his vision. So
Mm-hmm.
he's the CTO, the Chief Technology Officer at
Mm-hmm.
Rockrabbit, and what he's kind of built out in terms of our product and technology, a great deal of expertise and thought
Mm-hmm.
has gone into that to enable a really robust and user-friendly product.
Mm-hmm.
And so all of the credit is him and and the broader team as it relates to that. But as you said, there's a lot of data out there, and kind
Yeah.
of integrating like different data sets is one
Yeah.
part of what makes the user experience more streamlined.
Right.
The incentive database is a big one, but
Mm-hmm.
also like HJ registries, because if you're, a contractor and trying to figure out, oh, is this building or this home in this jurisdiction or the other, because the permitting is different, and also, oh, the CCA is different,
Mm-hmm.
and this municipality offers a rebate, this one doesn't, like that matters.
Right.
So
Right.
we've had to integrate a lot of those different databases kind of in our back end to
Yeah.
facilitate really navigating all of the complexity that
Right.
exists, that these installers would have to navigate
Mm-hmm.
in a very manual fashion otherwise.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So how does Rock Rabbit profit? Like this is a profit making entity, correct? So what is your
Mhm.
business model? I'm just curious. It's very mysterious for me.
Okay. Okay. Yeah. Happy
Yeah.
to talk about that.
Yeah.
When we're working with contractors,
Mm-hmm.
some of them, many of them are just getting into heat pumps. And so they're in
Right.
the process of,
Mm-hmm.
really transitioning their business. And so they
Right.
might only be doing one a week, or, some of them are kind of working up to it. But in that case, it's a per project cost.
Mm-hmm.
And so for every project where they use rockrabbit to support that end-to-end kind of
Mm.
submission,
I see.
and we also support any sort of issue resolution, post submission, and tracking. Then it's a
Mm.
flat fee
Mm-hmm.
for that project. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's kind of pay per use.
I see.
When we're working with an incentive provider,
Mm-hmm.
in that case, and helping them administer these programs, like
I
we're
see.
we're enabling them to do that much more cost effectively, actually,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
because without a technology solution like Rockrabbit, a lot of even the program admin side
Yeah.
is very manual. And this is
Yeah.
my own kind of former background and
Mm-hmm.
experience that firsthand. So it's very
Right.
manual, and it's expensive when you're doing things manually. And
Yeah.
so in that case, we're kind of a product solution that they can adopt to make kind of their lives easier to deploy programs in a much more
Right.
streamlined fashion.
Yeah.
So then it's typically a SaaS fee. That's typically how it would be
I
structured in that
see.
case.
I see. So when a homeowner goes to your website and I see that you have a tab for homeowners, um, if they if they reach out to you for their electrification process, they're not the one that's paying a fee to you. It's the
That's right.
contractors. Okay. That makes
That's right.
sense. That makes sense. What is your vision? Like what do you think is gonna look like in the next year or 5 years from now? I know that we're in such a rush to decarbonize, and I am trying to do my part, obviously, but sometimes I get discouraged, because this is a huge challenge for all of us, and I don't know if we are decarbonizing fast enough.
Right, right. Yeah, no, it's I think anyone who works in energy and climate, you have to have a certain amount of resilience,
Mm-hmm.
because it's a major challenge,
Yeah.
biggest existential challenge of our times. And it's easy to get kind of down about the
Mm-hmm.
state of progress, which
Yeah.
has been way too slow.
Yeah.
And I've been in the energy space for a while now, and the built environment has been a big laggard. Like I
Mm-hmm.
would say, over the last 15, 20 years, there's been a lot more activity on decarbonizing the power supply, which is
Yeah.
fantastic. We need
Yeah.
that. That's a cornerstone. There's been a lot more activity on the transportation side.
Mm-hmm.
In buildings, there's just a lot of inertia just
Yeah.
based on how long appliances last, how buildings last, and just
Yeah.
different stakeholder kind of
Yeah.
decision-making processes. So it's a really hard sector to
Mm-hmm.
decarbonize, and it's one that's kind of starting out a bit later, I would say. So in terms of what our kind of vision is, so I would say maybe going back to our mission, we are a mission-driven company. Our mission is future-proofing homes
Yeah.
made easy and affordable for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a pretty hard mission to
I
achieve. So
agree.
yeah, it's going to keep us super busy for a long time. But I think what we're really helping to focus on is just reducing a lot of the friction.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the industry right now, it reminds me, there are a lot of things that remind me of the solar industry,
Yeah.
10, 15 years ago when
Mm-hmm.
there was a lot of additional friction there. And there's
Mm-hmm.
been a lot of improvement naturally on
Yeah.
the solar side. And so we're
Yeah.
seeing kind of a similar sort of maturation on the built environment, building
Mm-hmm.
electrification side.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So, who would you like to reach out to the most? Say, if I were to push this podcast out there, who do you want to reach most? It's homeowners or contractors, and what is your message to them?
Yeah, I mean, we love to reach both audiences. And so
Mm-hmm.
even though we, don't sell directly to homeowners, like
Mm-hmm.
ultimately what we're building is intended for them. And
Yeah.
it's intending to help the contractors serve them better in terms of
Yeah.
invoices that have,
Yeah.
all of the information, or project quotes that have all of the information about what's available. And so one thing you can do it as a homeowner, I mean, if you are getting quotes for a home upgrade project is certainly, asking your contractor if they know about rebates. You can feel free to suggest Rockrabbit if they aren't familiar with the rebate landscape and may need some support on that
Mm-hmm.
side. We would love to work with them to help make sure that they're really future-proofing their business in addition to helping serve their customers better.
Yeah. Yeah. In my experience, the people who have the knowledge to look for rebates are already kind of in that mindset of like, oh, we have to do something for about our environment. But there's a large population who may not even know that we have a choice. When the water heater goes out, we have a choice to decarbonize, and maybe they don't even know that we should be decarbonizing. What would you say to those people who are out there, both homeowners and contractors? What can we tell them to kind of not preach them, but to inform them that there are other choices and it can be done? And with the help of people like you, Rock Rabbit, it can be done relatively easily.
Yeah, I mean, I think, certainly awareness is a continued challenge, both on the homeowner side as well as the contractor side. But I think it's getting better and better. There's more familiarity now, I would say, with the fact that heat pumps exist and basically what they are and that they're a good option.
Mm-hmm.
But certainly we still have a ways to go on the consumer awareness side as well as on the workforce side. Yeah, I think one thing that's hopefully a consolation for folks would be there is a lot of activity in this space. I mean, we have so many interesting companies, interesting individuals, nonprofits, governments, like really active in this space, trying to make things just a lot more streamlined to
Mm-hmm.
enable them to say yes to these projects and to make that yes the easiest choice. And so that's really what we're focused on, trying to make the right choice the easiest one.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I guess that's what I would share with them, and constantly looking for product feedback as well. And so if folks have suggestions on features or functionalities or need they're seeing in the market, there are a ton of innovators and entrepreneurs out there like looking for a way to contribute to this challenge, to tackling this challenge.
Thank you so much, Amy. I am so grateful and excited for you, Rock Rabbit, to thrive and really spread this movement. And so, how can people find you? I will put it in my show note, a link to your website, obviously. Um, is anything else that you like to tell the audience about your company?
Yeah, would love any sort of outreach if you think that we might be able to support, you and your goals for any of the audience and members out there. You can
Hmm.
always reach us at info@rockrabbit.ai.
Okay.
There's also like a form on the website just for any
Hmm.
sort of outreach. We
Hmm.
love getting messages from folks. It's oftentimes maybe things we haven't thought of or connections we hadn't made yet. And so
Right.
would love to connect with anyone who
Right.
sees a good opportunity there to have a call.
Right. Okay. So it's rock, and your website is rockrabbit.ai, correct?
That's right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Amy, for your time. I am very excited to put this out there and let the people know about you guys.
Great.